I knew it. I was right. I totally called it. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. I knew it would have something to do with the sky. I had a huge gimmick for airships lately and about the sky, and I was right. So we haven't seen any airships. For all we know, they could be some airships. I'd actually prefer there not to be airships. I just want a straight Zelda adventure, sort of no frills, no gimmicks, in the sense of there being a major mechanic like the wolf transformation or the boat or the train, even though I love trains. I just want it to be a straight Zelda adventure. When I first saw, you see the trailer, you saw my reactions in the video I took at Nintendo World, but you see the Link on Epona, and then you see the Majora's Mask, and then you see the Link on his boat and the King of Red Lions, and you see Wolf Link running, and then I was like, oh man, here it comes. And then I see Link standing there, and the screen, you may not be able to tell so much from the video I took, but the screen was sort of sun faded. Like, it wasn't a perfectly dark room, so I couldn't see the screen all that great. It was a projection screen, and it wasn't like an LCD screen or something, so I couldn't see it that great. But I saw Link, and I was like, wow, that looks different. I was not expecting that, as most people were not expecting that. I personally, I was expecting basically the Twilight Princess look, but it built on a brand new engine to look more realistic and maximize the power of the game to make a more realistic expression of Zelda, sort of a step up from the Twilight Princess look, which is essentially nothing that couldn't have been done back in 2001. And it's the same GameCube as from 2001. Twilight Princess was a GameCube game that was ported to Wii with some waggle controls. I was expecting a major upgrade in graphics, but I wasn't expecting that. And I'm very happy about it. When I saw that, I was shocked. And I was like, that's interesting, because I'm trying to see it. Because what I thought was going to happen was that there'd be sort of this rut where there'd be the Wind Waker cel-shaded, bobblehead Link look on the DS, and then there'd be the Twilight Princess realistic, quote, mature look on the home systems, and that's how it was going to be from then on out. And I did not want that to happen. I want Zelda to always be changing and always look different. Zelda is one of the few series where very few games in the Zelda series can be mistaken for one another. The Oracle games, those were built side by side and meant to be interchangeable, so you could mistake those for each other. Possibly Majora's Mask, it's hard to mistake for an Ocarina of Time screenshot. Zelda's one of the few games where every game is very, very distinguished and unique visually from each other. And because I'm trying to see it, because my brain is still expecting more realistic sort of Twilight Princess look, but I'm like, it's an adult Link, and it's sort of an adult-looking world. But it has that painted look, sort of like a Cezanne painting, which is exactly what it's based on. But it has that it's brighter, it's more vivid, it's more crisp, it's more colorful, and it's more cartoon-like, but it isn't, cartoony. It's like I said, you know what it looks like to me? It looks like Link to the Past popped up into a three-dimensional environment. Because, when I was, even back when the Zelda, when the Space World 2001 Zelda demo came out, and, a lot of people were like, oh, they drew in Zelda, it's kiddie, it's cartoony, Zelda's realistic, it's supposed to be mature, like Ocarina of Time, and I'm saying, but, Zelda's always been, has a long history of being depicted as a cartoony sort of universe. And just look at Link to the Past. Look at the shading on the trees. Look at the knights in Hyrule Castle. You knock them off a platform, and they do a Wile E. Coyote running an air take before they fall. It's a very cartoony game. And the response I've seen often is, oh, it only looked like that because the Super NES couldn't handle the realistic graphics. That's garbage. Look at Super Metroid. Look at Castlevania 4. Look at the Final Fantasy games. Those are all realistic, darker games using the Super Nintendo hardware. The look of Link to the Past was deliberate. I mean, even if you look at even the earliest Zelda art, Link was typically depicted as a 10-year-old before Ocarina of Time. Link was depicted varying between, say, 10 to 15. Ocarina of Time was the first game that showed Link as an adult, as at the age of 17 in-game. And Twilight Princess was the very first game that in-game depicted Link as being an adult throughout the entire adventure. So it's not like all the games were like these grim, dark, hardcore, mature swashbucklers, and then Wind Waker came along and turned it into, you know, Barney's play place. Barney's play place. Okay, I'm having a great time with my tongue today. Okay, but you know, if you, even in the first Zelda game, even in the official art, there were some pictures where Link was 10, and others where it was a very more realistic, vivid sort of medieval sort of style where Link, you know, had a Christian cross on his shield and all that. So depiction, both cartoon and realistic depiction of Zelda go back, far back, way back. And so the people saying that, like, oh, they ruined Zelda, it's mature like Twilight Princess, and just grow up. I mean, how many of the people saying that are over, say, 15, 16, not to bash the 15, 16-year-olds out there, I was one once, but how many people of you are out there saying, oh, it needs to be mature, we're not kids anymore, oh, treat us like the mature fans we are, Nintendo? How many of you people can even drive a car that are saying this? Come on. If you need a video game to make yourself feel mature, then you need a lot more help than Nintendo can offer you, that's for sure. And it's just silly. Zelda looks great. Realistic, mature, good graphics don't mean realistic graphics. End of story. In the future, I want to see realistic Zelda games that look nothing like Twilight Princess. I want to see cartoony Zelda games that look nothing like Twilight Princess or Wind Waker. I mean, nothing like Skyward Sword or Wind Waker. Zelda should never stop changing. It should always reinvent itself and look different and try new things. Because The Legend of Zelda, I don't love Zelda because I love playing the same thing over and over. Basically, all the 3D Zelda games, except Majora's Mask, have essentially been, to an extent, plot rehashes of Link to the Past. You know, get those, 3 items at the beginning, and then get the Master Sword, then get the 5 or 6 or 7 whatevers in the dungeons to get to Ganon's castle. That's basically been the formula of 3D Zelda games. I want to see something very different. I want to, explore more, not just go into the dungeon and come back out. I want to explore the world and fight my way through the world and explore through the world. And I think that's what we're going to get with Skyward Sword. I'm going to check the time real quick, make sure I have enough time to keep going. Alright, I only have a couple of minutes left, so I'm going to make this quick. Visually, the graphics look great. I love the way it looks. I love, the swordplay looks great, how you'll be fighting with the enemies. They'll be, moving. You see it in the trailer, they're moving their swords around to block you. Enemies where you have to slash up vertically or horizontally to attack them effectively. And I want... People looked at the item thing where you reach into a bag to grab your items out and you only see like 6 items maybe. Really, I'd rather have 6 items in the entire game than have a dozen or more items that you only use once for one puzzle in one dungeon, like we see on Twilight Princess. There are cool new items in Twilight Princess. The ball and chain, that mace thing, that's, classic medieval weapons. That's the sort of stuff you'd always want Link to use, and you only get to use it in the Ice Temple. That spinner thing, that, I was not expecting to pull out the spinner, but that thing was cool and you barely, it only hovered for a few seconds once you got to use it, so it was pretty useless except for those track things. That was cool. The Dominion Rod, a magic rod, you could shoot beams and control statues. That was cool. That's cool stuff you want Link to use, but you barely get to use it. I'd rather have, and I want to switch through those items a lot. The way you can just switch it and grab the item you want and use it immediately. I want to be switching items and really be fighting and feel like I have this equipment on my person and I'm using this equipment to, fight, get my way out of situations and to solve puzzles and to fight in real time, really fluidly. No going into menus and choosing your wardrobe and equipping things in a very unrealistic, very video game-like way. I want this game to be a very fluid experience, and the fact that it's interesting that the trailer was essentially not about the story at all. It was just basically selling the concept of playing a Zelda game in this way, which gets me very excited that this is going to be a no-nonsense, straight-up adventure that's going to be very accessible to newcomers and experienced Zelda veterans alike, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. Thank you very much for watching.